June 2023. I'm writing this paper lying on the couch. My white cat squeezes herself onto my knee, blocking my view of the laptop. I peer over her to type. Only now, after my mother has died, can I write about her, about us. First, the glorious spillage onto the page as the story I'd held inside me at last found words. Then the draft of rage, well, a few drafts of what happened when I went to Paris for a few months to live with a French sister, and of course, had a bit too much fun. Then what happened when I came home, then recovering my old diaries and notebooks. For so long, I was the container for her anger, and to share that felt shameful, wrong, especially because of her disability. And there was the deep fear too, that I'd be labeled an apostate for writing anything about my background, about my upbringing. This lives on. Anger, glorious anger, pushed through the fear, the shame. Now, my rage is beginning to fade, and I miss it. I'm deep in the edits that need a lot of lying down, that leave me heavy and exhausted as I dig into where experience and time mesh until I'm no more than a gap, a lacuna, a pause between breaths. I must go back to where I learned to be the space around which others moved. This is how you survive, staying quiet, the freeze, the moment of surrender, the stillness before death. You can be held there for a lifetime. I thought the process would be easier, that now finally it was time to heal. In narrative terms, isn't healing the logical ending to the story of trauma? But what if it's deep in your body? Maybe it isn't so simple, so quick, so linear. Maybe there is no return to a tabula rasa, to a prelapsarian state. You are forever changed. Are there other stories to tell? Ones with compassion, not only for our past selves, but for the person in the messy, not quite there present. My white cat nudges my hand away from the keyboard, as if to say, enough now, let's get back to what's important. I stroke her under the chin and she purrs. July 2019, Manchester. I got your dad a bottle of whiskey for our wedding anniversary next week. You did? I hold the straw to Mum's mouth. She takes a sip of tea from the plastic beaker, frowning at the laptop on the bed table. I lean over to gently brush the knots from the back of her hair where her head rests against the pillow. Their anniversary is also the anniversary of my baptism. I won't mention that. Maybe I did let them down. No, fight that. And anyway, we've overcome our differences, working together as a family, sorting the direct payments from the council. So two sisters, members of their congregation, are paid to take care of Mum, and she's much happier. And I'm not shunned, and I'm grateful for that. Well, a bit shunned, but I do have this moment as I clip the sides of her silky blonde hair. It's been worth it, living nearby, the visits, the half-life, always a bit doubled, holding myself still while I care, then leaving and living for so many years in a hard, punishing way. More, I hold the straw to her mouth again. One sec. She bobs her head up and down so the infrared dot on her glasses clicks on the screen. Her torrents pause. Did Salford Council intend you to use their assistive technology to illegally download films, Mother? She gives a kind of shrug, only she can't move her shoulders, a half cheeky smile. I'm chuckling. I like my Jehovah's Witness mother's small hypocrisies, how she's become a little more liberal over the years. Something crashes above. We look up, another thump. Dad mumbling in the room over us. Mum sighs, what's he broken now? What's he not broken? We give each other a colluding smile. I'm on her side in the face of Dad's patient but clumsy care, his breakages, his forgetfulness, his terrible cooking. So, she says, what I got your dad for our anniversary was a 21-year-old single malt. She pauses. I got Brenda to write in the card that it was for the 21 years I've had multiple sclerosis. I give a snort of laughter. There's more noise from above. And what do you get? Flowers, probably, but don't worry. She nods to the QVC packages on the couch. Got myself some nails ink. Your dad did them yesterday. She nods to a lovely dark purple nails. And I say, he's getting good at manicures for a 70-year-old elder. 3rd of July, 1992. Dear Diary, I can't wait until tomorrow. I'm getting baptized. Never, never, never will I leave the truth and go back to this repulsive system. I'm so glad I'm a JW and I don't know what life will be like without the truth. I wasn't pressured into being baptized because my parents didn't even mention it till I suggested the idea. Then they fully supported me all the way, and to them, I am truly grateful. 4th of July, 1992. Dear Diary, the day. Oh, it is wonderful getting baptized. When you have to say yes to the questions, I said it really loudly and everyone could hear me above the rest down the microphone. Then the brother giving the talk asked everyone to clap again for us and I nearly burst into tears. When he went under the water, it was a lovely, calm, serene feeling and you really felt you belonged to the organization. I'm now a proper sister. 1999, June, Paris, the apartment of Sister Agnes. It's late when I get home from the hospital. I sleep on and off the next day, waking to drink water like they told me to. And when the stinging pain happens again, I stagger to the awful Parisian crouching toilet, listening for sounds of Sister Agnes, but she's been hiding in her room, depressed, since her worldly daughter visited. I sleep and dream of my mother again. I'm walking through the corridors of an empty hospital, calling her name, but I can't find her. I wake and take more antibiotics. The phone rings again, and I pull myself up and stagger into the living room. How are you? Dad asked. We called, but no one answered. I got ill. Is Mum there? What's wrong? I had to go to the hospital. I have cystitis. Cystitis? Mum barks. She's listening in, of course. How are you feeling now? Dad asks. A bit better. It was so painful. Do you know why women get cystitis? No. They get cystitis from having sex. Close my eyes against the light in the window, the bright blue of the June sky, the pearly rooftops. No, Mum, of course not. Why are you saying that? Because that's how women get it, from sex. Have you been having sex? You need to tell us. I hold the phone away from my ear so her voice sounds far away, like it is, far away in Manchester, far from me, but I can feel it in my bones, her words, sharp, digging. You are coming home right now. You don't book your tickets this week. I'm sending your father to bring you back. We should never let you go to Paris. What does Sister Agnes think of you? Does she know what you've been up to? I could tell when we visited that you were up to something. I could see it. I twist the phone wire around my fingers. Agnes thinks nothing because there's nothing to tell. I just got ill. You can't lie to me. I'm your mother. I'm not lying. I hope she'll ask how I am, be the mother who's so usually concerned with health and would immediately tell me how to get better. Instead, she carries on, her voice getting louder and louder, almost screeching. She no longer knows who I am. Have I no love for Jehovah? Have I no love for them? This has nothing to do with having doubts, just my selfish desires. I wait for Dad to interrupt her, to be the peacemaker he usually is, but he says nothing. You are coming home, she says. I want to book your ticket right now. I squint in the afternoon light. My kidneys ache. A sharp pain pulls between my legs again. I close my eyes and say, I'll book my tickets. 15th of July, 1992. Dear Diary, if I ever get married, it will be in the new system. Just imagine all those tasty catches, which will hopefully be resurrected after Armageddon. Well, until then, I'm prepared to wait, even if it takes years. 2021, Lancaster, notebook. I went to the GP to get my B12 checked again. It's getting better. Thank goodness the dizziness has stopped. I thought I was getting MS too. I told the doctor I'd had the B12 deficiency had happened before during a period of stress, but I'd also ended up anemic and my hair fell out due to low ferritin stores. He looked like he wanted to ask about all that, but there's no time in a 10-minute NHS appointment to explain the trauma of judicial committees. He asked about my drinking, since it can inhibit vitamin absorption. I'd foolishly confessed everything on the phone when I was scared about the dizziness. He said, do you drink wine? I felt seen and said it had been Aldi whiskey during lockdown, but I was back on the Pinot Grigio now. And he said, this was an improvement. I left feeling smug. He was so young and hopeful looking. I didn't want to worry him by confiding I was reducing my drinking by taking my dead mummy's out-of-date diazepam. I just said I was getting better through the power of exercise, which is partly true. I just see my stash of Valium as my inheritance. I got a ton of generational and religious trauma. So I'm allowed her pills to cope with it. And she never believed in use-by dates anyway. Manchester, July 1999. I push open my bedroom door. What are you doing? I ask. Mum's leaning on a wooden dresser as she reaches for the bed with her other hand, her legs wobbling like she'll fall, but she turns and lands with a thump on the bed. I swallow. This is what I've done. Made her illness worse with all the stress from my selfish desires. Come, sit down, she says gently. We need to talk. I breathe out. The gnawing under my ribs eases. This is her voice when she loves me, not the shouting voice she's used since I got home that has screamed, you are not my daughter. She pats the bed and looks down at the duvet that matches my wallpaper with its yellow flowers, as if she's remembering when we bought them from Fads on Salford Precinct. I sink onto the bed, the sweeping feeling of relief. I'm sorry I've been so angry. She places both hands on her knees. I'm just so scared for you. I don't want you to ruin your life, to ruin your relationship with Jehovah. She wipes her eyes with a tissue. Tears run down her cheeks. She murmurs that she can't seem to control herself anymore. Maybe it's the MS, maybe it's impacting her nervous system. I frown because she's always been like this, losing her temper when I step out of line. But I don't want to ruin the moment by saying that. I squeeze my hands together. I just want to know what happened. Her hand reaches to grasp mine. What would I do if I lost you? You're not losing me. I start to cry, a hiccup of tears. My shoulders shake, wet, catching in my throat. I want it all out of me. Just no more lying. I can't take it anymore. Just tell me. Her voice is soft as clouds. I want to sink into it. You slept with someone, didn't you? My head nods. I'm sorry, Mum. I'm so sorry. Her hand squeezes mine, the rings digging into my fingers. A brother? No. And the letter you received, that was from him? I nod. So it's still going on. I nod again. Right. She looks around my bedroom as if looking for the letter, but it's tucked safely under my bed. My skin pricks, my scalp tingles. She withdraws her hand and gets a tissue from her sleeve to wipe her face. You know what you have to do, don't you? Her voice has changed, a hardness, something resolved. My breath sticks in my throat. You will have to tell the elders. My heart thuds in my ears. I swallow, trying to breathe. I can't. You will have to, she says, or we will. The yellow roses on my wallpaper seem to float in water. They shift and ebb. My room feels cold and damp. My shoulders fall. I want to lie on the carpet, sink to the bottom, never get up. She's right. I must tell the elders. Tell Brother Brown at the convention, she says. 16th of December, 1992. I had a horrible feeling before that I regretted getting baptized, but it was only fleeting. And when I went on the ministry, I felt differently again, and that I didn't want to date a boy at school, and that nothing shall come between me and the truth. July 2020, Manchester. Mum is shrouded in towels on the shower chair. I drag her from the wet room to her bed in the living room. Without any support, her head droops forward, her arms and body slumped. You've lost so much weight, I say again, as if it makes any difference. I know, she says as I hold up her arm, patting the loose skin with a towel. It's just so hard to swallow. I tut the way she used to tut at my weight loss, but it's best not to mention getting a feeding tube again. She won't hear of it. Brenda made some fresh soup, she says. Good, I'll heat it up. Mum gives a tired half smile, her face brightening. Brenda, the dear sister who has moved in with them, who is paid by the council, but in lockdown has been working 6 days per week. My weekly visit, a reprieve for her, for Dad, who turns Mum every hour at night. And I'm glad Mum has a good friend, even if they go silent when I arrive and Brenda slips from the room with barely a hello. Mum quiet for a while, and I have that feeling again that makes me want to go in the kitchen and drink whatever bottle is open, that heavy feeling that there is something bad about me, something rotten, even after all these years. I close my eyes and turn away from her, breathe out. It's the spiritual encouragement, Mum says. Brenda's so spiritual. Right, I say, bending down to dry her feet. Do you want some of the body oil? Yes, I get the Elemis and smooth it down her shins where her skin is thinner and dry. I've talked to so many of her friends at Bethel, Mum says, on WhatsApp. It's great you meet new people, new sisters, and some lovely brothers as well. Uh-huh. I pick up the fresh nightie from the back of the chair. My hands are shaking, my teeth are clenched together. So spiritual. I feel the months of it, all those small moments. I can't describe them. Do they even happen? The changes in the air. Am I imagining it? So spiritual, I repeat. And suddenly, I'm angry. My teeth are gritted with it. So spiritual when she never has a civil word for me. And you seem to be okay with this. My mother tries to lift her head. A sigh passes over her face because she can't. Well, she says, her voice growing brittle. It's hard for Brenda. Members of her family are disfellowshipped, but you're not. What? You live in sin. You won't get married. And here you are. But the bottom line is you made a promise to Jehovah and you broke it. My face creases. I sit back on the chair. I have no answer. All of me is too heavy and the room is watery. Dad's voice comes from somewhere as if he is far off, saying we should have called him. And he starts getting the sling for the hoist and talking cheerily. And Mum is looking at me slumped on the chair. And of course, she's right. I have no answer to this, no answer at all. My father asks if I'm okay, and I nod and stand and start to do what we usually do. But my hands are not attached to me. They are watery fins and fumble and can barely pick the pillows off the floor. The room swims, and I see now that all the years of care and love don't matter. I broke my promise to Jehovah. I thought I could make up for it, that I could be redeemed through the act of care. But now my mother is dying. I know she is. She's getting weaker and won't survive another infection. And she has turned away from me to meet her future. Dad asks me to press the button on the hoist, and my mother is lifted into the air, risen again, as she is every day, and he guides her to the bed, and she's silent, her head has fallen forwards. All of this happens as if underwater, because I have no answer. I am stuck in this watery moment of truth. July 2023. I'm still writing this paper, now lying on my bed. There are moments where I sink into the sea of experience. The sharp cold of it takes my breath. Water thrums in my ears. My lungs are packed with memories. My feet nudge the sand on the seabed, the cold sludge between my toes. I sink into the sticky shame of silence. Some moments become part of who we are. But I am also here in this room in Lancaster, crisp sheets beneath me. The window is open, a cool breeze of summer air, seagulls call to each other. I need to outline something about form, about the importance of the present tense, the moment written in a diary. Can my book be just parts without an organizing, retrospective self who is looking back, explaining, telling the story like she has her shit together? I feel like an imposter to my own narration, but I'm also an academic. I can turn that into an argument, an abstract for a conference, a synopsis that says, let's value this moment, the moment we are healing in, not wait, always yearning for some future redemption, even if this moment drips with pain. My cat, who is old as the hills and never one to miss a cuddle on the bed, jumps up and plods across the sheets. I reach out my hand and stroke her soft white fur. She pushes her face into my fingers. We are here, not there, all of us. And that's the beauty of it. Thank you.